In the first video, we introduced you to Investor-State Dispute Settlement, or ISDS, and how it can threaten the rights of Māori and Indigenous peoples all over the world. We touched on how important ISDS is to understand in the context of protecting the taiao. Today, we're diving a bit deeper into that, how ISDS is being used to block climate action, and why it could be a major problem for New Zealand and Māori communities. We'll take a look at a case study involving an Australian billionaire by the name of Clive Palmer, who has been dubbed as Australia's very own Donald Trump. And when it comes to his use of ISDS, you'll see why. As the climate crisis worsens, many countries are trying to put in place laws and policies to reduce carbon emissions, protect ecosystems, and promote sustainable energy. But what happens when those laws clash with the interests of multinational companies, particularly those involved in fossil fuels or mining? This is where ISDS comes into play. Foreign investors can use ISDS to challenge laws designed to protect the environment. If a company believes that a climate policy will hurt its profits, through ISDS, it can sue the government for compensation. This can create what is called a chilling effect on climate policy. This chilling effect is a significant concern. Governments may be reluctant to take bold action on climate change because they fear it could lead to multi-million-dollar legal battles with the powerful corporations. To understand how this works, we will use a real-life example that can teach us about the threats ISDS poses to our taiao protection efforts. At the centre of our story is Clive Palmer.
Clive Palmer.
Clive Palmer. Clive Palmer.
Clive Palmer.
Clive Palmer of the Department United.
Australia's fifth richest person with a fortune of about 23 billion Australian dollars. Palmer made his money through mining, coal, iron and nickel mining across Australia. Often called Australia's very own Trump, Palmer started his own right-wing political party and was briefly a politician. In the past, Palmer has already shown a clear hostility toward Indigenous peoples, allegedly spending around $2 million in ads for the No campaign in Australia's Indigenous voice referendum in 2023. Palmer's disregard for the environment is also clear. In 2012, his company Queensland Nickel illegally dumped wastewater into the Great Barrier Reef Marine Park. When told to stop, company officials threatened to sue the marine park for nearly $7 billion. In 2022, a Queensland court rejected Palmer's plans for a massive coal project because it would harm the climate and violate human rights.
Also resurrecting a decade-old plan to build a mega coal mine.
The case was brought by a youth verdict.
Now a group of school children and young adults is trying to stop him.
It is daunting, yes, but I wouldn't say as daunting as the idea of an unsafe future.
A group led by young Indigenous Australians who showed how climate change was damaging their country. The Queensland government also blocked his plans for a coal power station, rejecting his claims that it would be carbon neutral. Palmer's ambitions stretch beyond Australia. His company, Mineralogy, has already gotten many permits for mineral exploration across Aotearoa, New Zealand, looking for gold, lithium and rare earth elements. Mineralogy hasn't gone unchallenged. Ngāti Kahu ki Whangaroa have strongly protested against permits allowing Mineralogy to search for lithium and rare earth elements around Puketi Forest and Whakarara Conservation Area. Similarly, Te Runanga o Ngāti Kearoa Ngāti Tuara fought against mining lithium on Horohoro Mountain near Rotorua. They specifically asked the government to exclude their areas from the permits being requested. What makes Palmer extra threatening is how he has had a history of moving his company to take advantage of ISDS rules. In December 2018, Palmer moved Mineralogy's registration from Australia to New Zealand. Just 1 month later, he moved the company to Singapore. Now you may ask why he would do such a thing, but this trick of moving companies around to access favourable ISDS rules has become common for big corporations trying to gain legal leverage against governments. It's all about finding the right agreement that will allow them to use ISDS. Palmer's strategy is already playing out in Australia, where he's trying to sue the Australian government for an incredible 420 billion Australian dollars through multiple ISDS claims. The pattern is clear and deeply worrying for Aotearoa, New Zealand. If Palmer's mining operations face resistance from Māori or climate policy efforts, he could bring similar ISDS cases against the New Zealand government. The legal pathway already exists through the Australia-New Zealand ASEAN Free Trade Agreement, called ANZFTA, which includes ISDS rules. With Mineralogy registered in Singapore, Palmer could use this agreement to sue New Zealand for billions if the government respects Māori opposition to mining permits. Even just the threat of such a huge financial penalty could pressure the government to put Palmer's profits ahead of treaty obligations and climate promises. Remember, for these investors, it might not be about necessarily winning the ISDS cases. Instead, it can be about scaring governments into limiting their actions in favour of the taiao. Cases like Palmer's show why many countries, including the European Union, are pulling out of these agreements because they block climate change policies. Both Labour and coalition governments in New Zealand have agreed that ISDS is bad and shouldn't be in future agreements. Yet despite this, ISDS rules remain in existing agreements, including the recently updated ANSTA that was renewed last year. This creates a dangerous legal trap for governments trying to create stronger climate protections or honour Indigenous rights. Māori resistance to ISDS goes back to the late 1990s, when a protest march from the north to Wellington was part of a successful global campaign. Creating opposition to ISDS is a key part of fighting against mining operations and addressing the climate change crisis. It's essential for protecting both Māori rights and our taiao. For more information and resources on how to get involved, visit Ngā Toki Whakarururanga's website.